Do, 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 do. Left of the box. Hello, welcome to Left of the Box. Bonjour, bienvenue. I'm Sandy. A few land developers lucked out when they bought parts of the Greenbelt that wasn't open for development for $80 million, just for that land to then be open to development shortly thereafter, meaning that $80 million investment will pay off big time. These same developers also just happen to be donors to Doug Ford. Doug Ford, who after claiming he wouldn't touch the Greenbelt, opened the parts of the Greenbelt the developers just happened to buy. Now, most people would look at this and say, it seems to be corruption. This looks like corruption. Like, this looks like a lot of corruption. This was corruption. But surely if it was corruption, Doug Ford would be held accountable. I say this with a smug-ass tone because we all know how this turns out. Actually, about that, so back on November 28th, Green MPP Mike Schreiner requested an opinion from the Office of the Integrity Commissioner on whether Premier Doug Ford and Municipal Affairs and Housing of Ontario Minister Steve Clark had any integrity. Wait, there's such a thing as an integrity commissioner? So yeah, apparently there is such a thing as an integrity commissioner in Ontario. With everything else that has been going on, there is an integrity commissioner. Section 30 of the Members' Integrity Act 1994 provides the commissioner with the authority to investigate a complaint by one member of provincial parliament about the actions of another. Copies of the commissioner's reports on all complaints can be found below. Or it's above me, but anyway. Yeah, so here's the Office of the Integrity Commissioner. They have their own office. And this is the report that just came out based on Mike Schreiner's request to give an opinion on Doug Ford and Steve Clark. And if we go down to the conclusion, way at the bottom, so pursuant to subsection 31.5 of the Act and blah, 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 basically, I find that there are insufficient grounds for me to conduct an inquiry into Mr. Schreiner's request regarding Premier Ford and Minister Clark. So based on the materials Mike supplied, which was primarily news articles reporting on the possibility of corruption, the commissioner found there are insufficient grounds to conduct an inquiry. See, nothing will ever happen. This is how it is. We might as well just give up. However, Mike wasn't the only one to ask the Integrity Commissioner for an opinion. If we go back up to the top, newly elected NDP leader Merritt Stiles also requested an opinion as to whether only Minister Clark had any integrity. She submitted an extensive affidavit with the news articles, but also with direct evidence. What that is, we don't know yet. Based on this, if we go back down to the bottom of this, right before the conclusion, because this is not a conclusion yet, based on what Merritt Stiles submitted, the commissioner has decided to conduct an inquiry. So over here on Twitter, there was this breaking announcement. Ontario's Integrity Commissioner will commence an inquiry into the decision to open part of the Greenbelt. Will be an opinion on whether Minister Clark contravened Sections 2 and 3 of the Act. Basically, Section 2 covers conflict of interest and ensures that a member of the legislature does not knowingly make a decision that could further their own private interests or those of another individual. Section 3 prohibits a member from providing insider information that is not publicly available for private gain. And based on what the Integrity Commissioner said, Merritt Stiles provided direct evidence of this. So if we go back here to the commissioner's report and look at the wording of this, it says, unlike Mr. Schreiner, Ms. Stiles did not include the premier as a subject of her request. Ms. Stiles submitted an extensive affidavit which included media articles, but also direct evidence. I'm very interested to find out what that direct evidence is. But will this be enough to hold the Doug Ford government accountable for their actions? Well, also, so we have here from Global News, Ontario police interviewed environment group about Greenbelt complaint. Investigators with the Ontario Provincial Police have begun they're quietly doing this. Shh, they don't want people to know they're actually doing their job. No, I get it. I get it. They can't necessarily be out in public and loud with this for purposes of leading to investigations. Sure. But anyway, they have begun quietly conducting interviews to determine whether to launch an investigation into the Ford government's controversial decision to open up parts of Ontario's Greenbelt for development. The OPP received multiple complaints from environmental groups and members of the public after the government revealed that 7,400 acres of land would be removed from the Greenbelt and converted into housing developments, breaking a promise Ford made during the 2018 election campaign to leave the area intact. I have more videos about the Greenbelt. I'll have them linked in the description box below. Further questions were raised after Toronto Star Norwell investigation found that one developer bought 700 acres of Greenbelt land in September, weeks before the government announced its plan to open that property for development. See, that's where it sounds very, very suspicious activity. So the OPP haven't launched an investigation yet, but they're at least taking the complaints seriously, which is, more than I was expecting from them. But will this be enough to hold the Doug Ford government accountable? Well, also, from a website called insaga.com, we have here Doug Ford government being sued over Hamilton urban boundary expansion. Doug Ford's Ontario government is being taken to court over Bill 23 and its expansion of the city of Hamilton's urban boundary, which leaves the Greenbelt unprotected and open to development. It came after Ford promised that the Greenbelt would remain untouched, a promise he has blatantly broke. People, you can't trust Doug Ford. You can't trust anything he says. EcoJustice, Canada's largest environmental law charity, accuses the province of squashing local democracy. This here is the website for EcoJustice. Like all sources I have, it will be linked in the description box below. Let's take a look at what they announced on Twitter. Breaking. We're taking the Ontario government to court on behalf of Enviro Defence for its attempt to hack away at the Greenbelt near Hamilton. We've launched this because Doug Ford and his government continue to squash local democracy with moves like Bill 23. So they have an extensive thread with a lot more information about what they are planning on doing. Oh, look at this here. There's a tweet from Left of the Box. Left of the Box. That's me. There's a tweet from me. I would love to talk to someone about this for my YouTube show, Left of the Box. I've made a couple videos about the Greenbelt already as I'm deeply concerned about what Ford is doing to it. This tweet got a like. Got one like. I haven't heard from them. But will this be enough to hold the Doug Ford government accountable? Well, also, so we have here a tweet from Richard Southern of City News. New Ontario 3 opposition leaders have jointly signed a letter asking Auditor General Bonnie to conduct a value for money audit and environmental impact assessment of the Ford government's decision to open up Greenbelt land for development. And we have here the letter that was sent to the Auditor General, which was signed by all three of the opposition leaders. And here's an article about this from City News. Ontario opposition parties ask Auditor General to investigate Ford government's Greenbelt plans. And there is more details about this. There's also this CBC News article talking about the same thing, and Auditor General Bonnie says the decision is to come next week. You know, these things, they always take time. Everything in government is at a very slow pace. And wait, what's that? Breaking. The Auditor General will pursue an audit into the capital O opening of the Greenbelt, incoming NDP leader Merritt Stiles says. Wow, so all of that and really good. This is a good start. Let's hand his ass to him. I'll admit it, when I was gathering information for this update, I was pessimistic. On Twitter, all I was hearing about were the losses. Doug Ford wasn't going to be investigated by the Integrity Commissioner. The OPP can't be trusted, which isn't an invalid thought. But as I read into all of this and more information was released, I allowed for my mind to be changed. I'm not going to stick to negativity just because, and the gains we achieve, no matter how small, should be acknowledged and celebrated. This story isn't over, and it's yet to be seen if Doug Ford will be held accountable. But the process has started. We did this. The people did this. We made it clear it mattered to us. It was pressure from the people that got the other MPPs involved. With all the attention, the OPP had no choice but to take the complaint seriously. Because we made this issue known, groups from across the country joined our cause. What happens to the Greenbelt affects everyone, and it should matter to everyone. What we need to do now is don't stop. Keep the momentum going. Don't back down. Don't get complacent. The moment we stop fighting back is the moment we lose. And while we're at it, healthcare. Oh my God, healthcare. We need to start fighting back before we lose our healthcare. More about that in a future video. Don't forget to hit buttons and leave comments. You can also find me on Twitter and TikTok. If you can, please support my content by becoming a patron or purchasing something off my wish list. Links are in the description box below. A special thanks to those of you who already have. Salut, à la prochaine. Thank you for watching and stay tuned. I'm Sandy, wishing your tomorrow is better than your today. Good. Let's has his ass.